Welcome to the Cookery Conversation at the Aber Food Surplus Food Sharing Hub. My name is Mikhael and I am going to show you today how to make a traditional beetroot soup, a Russian Borsch. So to make this recipe, the basic things you will need are a good knife, a chopping board, measuring jug, grater, peeler, and a pan. The ingredients that we'll be using are white or brown onions, carrots, potatoes, a few cloves of garlic, obviously beetroot, can't do borscht without it, red or white cabbage, and some parsley to garnish and to give that extra flavor. We will also need stock. You can use stock in a form of paste, you can use stock in powder or stock cubes, anything you really want. So to begin with, we will preheat the pan a little bit and put a tiny bit of oil, just a tiny bit, not Jamie Oliver tiny, of oil just to do the frying. And we will chop the onion. There is no need to chop it finely, just 2 cuts across and a bit in length. So the reason I chose this recipe is I grew up with it. My grandmother used to feed me this soup when I was a little boy just outside of Moscow, Russia, and very fond memories. The soup is delicious, very filling, very good for you. It's the vegetarian equivalent for the chicken soup that heals everything. We are going to be making it vegan, so completely plant-based. But to be honest, if you have stock which is not vegetarian at home, chicken or anything like that, you can use that instead and it works fantastic as well. So we have chopped the onions and we will set them a little bit aside and move to the carrots. Those we can chop a bit more chunky. This soup goes fantastic with a nice warm slice of homemade bread, rye or wheat. It goes absolutely fantastic with a touch of yogurt or sour cream in it. And it is absolutely unbelievably good both in winter as a hot soup or during summer as a cold soup. Let's see if the oil is hot enough, which we will test by putting a sliver of carrot. If it sizzles, then it's hot enough. Then we shall put the onions and the carrots in. Try not to put vegetables into cold oil, it just causes them to soak the oil and be greasier. A little mix, and on a medium heat we will let them fry a little bit to soften and release all those sugars locked in. I'm actually going to add 1 or 2 more carrots in. Now, a little trick by the way, you know how sometimes you're trying to chop and your board goes everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So if you put a little piece of paper underneath and spray it with either water or disinfectant, locks the board. So as our onion and carrot are slowly frying, we will chop this cabbage. Now, borscht is a soured soup, which works absolutely fantastic with the beetroot because the reason why people sometimes do not like beetroot is because it's very earthy, almost overpowering. That's why we will sour it. You can do it at home either with vinegar, any type of vinegar except chippy vinegar and balsamic. So white wine or cider vinegar work absolutely brilliant. And just a little bit, it takes that edge of earthiness off and brings the sweetness up. Half of medium cabbage like this is plenty, or you can go with one whole small one. Adding that on top of the onions and carrots, and actually not going to mix. So while the carrots and onions are frying, on top of that, the cabbage is going to heat up and start stewing slowly. Now, beetroot, my advice is wear gloves. Beetroot dyes your skin and it will take hours to take it off. Also, use an apron and clothes that you're not emotionally attached to, because beetroot rarely washes out. But it's totally worth it. Plus currently beetroot is in season, our own beautiful British produce. I bet you have friends that grow it themselves. So, as our cabbage has been stewing a little bit, we are going to make the first step of souring it. As you know, cabbage sometimes have this mustardy, slightly sharp flavor. We mostly know it from Brussels sprouts. The reason why some people don't like it. So a little tiny bit of vinegar is going to remove that sharp flavor. That's all that requires. Notice I have not put any salt yet. The moment we put salt in, the vegetables start sweating out the water and juices. And we want to wait with that until we get the beetroot in. And now, the hardest thing about this recipe is hand grating beetroot. It's not really hard. It's just the hardest part of it all. That's how easy it is. So we grated the beetroot, and now I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of flat leaf parsley, just roughly chopped. It brings a beautiful aroma once we put it in the pan. So you will notice I have some beetroot left. I've grated some, there we go, and some I will dice just to give another different interesting texture to the soup. Mix, and now I will add the first bit of salt to help our beetroot sweat the color out. One tablespoon, flat. That's all that we need right now. Remember, you can always add more salt. You can never take it away. Again, at the end I am going to show you another use for the Borsch. In addition to the beautiful purple spaghetti sauce that my kids absolutely swear by, which is interesting because they don't like unique veg most of the time. But this is a smooth, silky sauce with all the goodness that we're putting in the sauce hidden in it. Now, as the beetroot is stewing, I am going to give it a little taste test just to see whether it needs any more vinegar. Literally just a dip to get the juice. The natural sweetness of the beetroot with a tiny bit of vinegar is absolutely mind-blowing. So, I am going to add just a tiny bit of vinegar because that's my childhood and I love it. Just a few drops, really, a few drops. Now at this stage, going to have a break, toilet, wash up, whatever you need, because you will need to let this stew for about 5 minutes without mixing, without touching, just to let it sit. Or in the meantime, you can prepare your potatoes. Just peel your potatoes and dice them more or less the same size as the beetroot, which is about 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. Right, so we are back from our toilet break, the hydration and everything. 5 minutes passed. We're looking at this and we can see that the color has been released that our carrots are also kind of red purple, that our onion is purple, everything is getting the color. So now is the stage where we're going to add our stock. I'm using pots, you can use cubes or whatever. Follow the recipe on the box to create 2 liters of stock. So I have 1 liter here. And I am going to add one more liter. Save yourself the time, pre-boil the kettle, make yourself a cuppa and make yourself a stock. Beautiful thing about soups which are not blended is if the flavor is too strong, you can add more water. You can add more water, you can add more potatoes and literally bulk up the soup for the next day. If you have surprise guests and you need some more food, bulk it up with a couple more potatoes and water and magic, more soup. So at this point, as it comes back to the boil, I'm going to add the potatoes. You can use any type of potatoes. You can use new potatoes and you don't have to peel them, but these ones I prefer to peel. You can use King Edward's, you can use baking potatoes, anything really you have in the fridge or in the pantry. I've known people even using tinned potatoes. If you have potatoes and you want to use them in a soup.
How are your beetroots going at home?
Reminds me. By the way, wanted to tell you a trick. If you are growing beetroot or have friends growing beetroot, if you got more beetroot than you can use straight away, a fantastic trick that I've been using since I've been a child in Russia is to grate it, put it in small sandwich bags and freeze it raw grated. And then when you need to cook that or to add it to salads, you just take it out of the freezer, blanch it, and it's ready. My beetroot is going absolutely insane. They are this size. There's about 30 of them, which is nothing compared to that. We have about 70, maybe 80. No. Yes, about 70 kilos of potatoes.
Yes,
growing. And we're just planting winter potatoes as well for Christmas time. And we got beans and we got kale, although that's bolting now.
Oh, that's a shame, yeah.
Well, it happens.
I brought I've got candied beetroots. Candied beetroots.
Oh!
Beautiful, beautiful things.
What do they look like?
Like pink.
Pink with rings, with white rings.
White, yeah. And then one of them was completely white with like very, very pale.
Albino.
Huh?
Albino.
I tell you what, I've eaten most of them already.
I love making like a mixture. I'll cook the beetroot separately and put them in a salad together so once it's cooked it doesn't bleed as much.
Yeah.
And then you have this beautiful golden and candied and purple and it's just amazing.
So beautiful.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Now after I finish here, I know we're on the way back from Aber. There's a patch where parasol mushrooms are growing.
Oh wow.
And on the way here, I almost stopped, but I thought, tied with time, because I've seen there's 4 parasols this size.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm gonna pick them, and tomorrow for breakfast, I'm gonna have my parasol schnitzels.
Oh wow.
Just egg, not egg, but vegan egg, and breadcrumbs, and just fry it.
Wow.
My 5-year-old found a fantastic set, a penny bun, this size.
Wow.
Yeah. So I gotta basically fill an entire jar of dry porcini just with one mushroom we picked. So back to our pan. It is nicely bubbling and boiling. We're gonna add these potatoes. Give it a good mix, that everything is submerged. And prepare a tiny bit of just corner of a lemon and our garlic. So for this pan I'm just going to use 4 garlic cloves, but the secret of the Russian soups is in the rest of the West. People usually put the garlic at the very beginning with an onion and fry it out to remove the flavor. In Russia we chop it and put it in the soup about 5 minutes before it's done. So it doesn't have the sting and the bite, but it has a much stronger garlic flavor, always. Take a garlic clove, put it on the board flat, put your thumb behind it and your fingers bent slightly inwards with a knife touching your fingers flat, never leaving your fingers. The moment it leaves, you'll cut yourself. But as long as it touches your fingers, put the tip of the knife, or the more familiar knife, on the board, lift the back side of it, and with a motion of back, forth and down, slivers of garlic, slowly moving your bent fingers backwards until it's done. Practice, practice, practice. This is ready to be added. So the potatoes went in. We diced them relatively small, so they will be almost fully cooked in about 10 minutes, which is when I will add the garlic, and then we'll leave it for 5 to 10 more minutes longer, and we will be done. I will add a bit more parsley because I'm a sucker for parsley. Parsley is a fantastic cleanser. It helps with digestion. It helps to combat your own body odor from the garlic. So if you ever had garlic and you want to go on a date, for example, eat some parsley. It will stop you from smelling from garlic. It will stop your sweat smelling from garlic. Or just date people who eat garlic. We have about 10 minutes before we're going to add the garlic and the parsley. And I remembered a tiny bit of dill, either fresh or dry dill, just a tiny bit to add, adds such an incredible depth of flavor. So we are approximately 5 minutes from the borscht being done. That's when we're going to add the garlic, parsley and a squeeze of lemon. Scrape with the back of the knife. That way you will never blunt your knife. Squeeze of lemon. Oh my, that makes me hungry. It's a good time to have a little taste to know whether you want to add any more salt, vinegar, pepper. And add a little bit of black pepper, just a touch. Tasting the potatoes, which are a few minutes away, I think we need a bit more salt, just a little bit. So it looks like the potatoes are done and the borscht is done. So taking the lid off, taking it off the heat, and there we have it. The borscht is done. Make sure to get all the bits in your bowl, potatoes, beetroot. It is a wholesome goodness. Now, personally, I do like my parsley quite a lot, so I'll take a little sprig of parsley and thinly slice it just to spread above. The soup is eaten traditionally with a dollop of sour cream. You can use sour cream, you can use creme fraiche, you can use vegan sour cream or creme fraiche. It is something that adds so much flavor and cools it just a little bit down. So, nice big dollop. And a sprinkle of parsley. And there we have it, borscht. So, our borscht is done, we've taken it off the heat, and your kids do not like soup. What do? They eat pasta, and they will love this sauce. So, take a dollop of borscht with all the bits, with the potatoes, with all the veg you want to put in, a bit extra liquid, tomato paste, about a tablespoon worth, just as it is, and use a stick blender to make it into a sauce. Remember, it stains a lot, so make sure you're careful. There we have it, pasta sauce for the kids and a borscht for everyone. Thank you for being with us at the Cookery conversation at the Aber Food Surplus Sharing Hub. I'm Mikhael, and enjoy.